早くハニエルが元に戻ってしまう。
分かった。しかし追いついてもどうやって奴を倒す。
Episode number 8. And, before I really get into the episode, well, there's two things. One is before I get into the episode, and the other one is relative to the episode itself. But before I get into the episode, this anime did one of my pet peeves in anime. And it's not just anime, it's in anime. I was gonna say Japanese, it's in Japanese media, which includes video games sometimes too, but really the majority is anime. And my biggest pet peeve is I have never understand. I guess it's just an affection thing. And you hear all the time that Japanese folks aren't affectionate, which I don't know if that's true or not. You would have to really be part of that culture to really understand. But my biggest pet peeve is when men, especially, get hugged by women, and they just do this, or they keep their hands at the side. And like in this episode, we have our boy affectionately getting hugged by Wrath, and she hugs him, and it's like, put your arms around her, bro. Like, just like, hug, like, hug her. Like, and it's not even a fault of Berserk of Gluttony. This happens in a lot of anime where like the male character will get hugged, and like they'll just do like they don't know what to do. It's like you're seeking, and this one not specifically, right? He wasn't really seeking that, but a lot of times in anime, the male will be seeking attention from the female, affection, romanticness. Like, so you'll put your pee-pee in her, but you won't hug her. It makes no sense to me. It's like, just hug. It's just embrace. It's just a big pet peeve of mine. And I was like, oh, here it is. I literally went, when it happened, I went, oh, like, ugh. Like, I did that. Okay, anyways, Berserk of Gluttony, episode number 8. So here's the thing. It's not too often where I have this specific thought. And the thought is, a lot of times my favorite shows come from lower budget studios, or come from studios who, for this specific show, just happen to get a lower budget. And you can tell usually by, by the drawings, by art level, by CG, by use of 3D rendering. You can usually tell when a studio didn't get a whole lot of budget. Sometimes you'll see that in their sub work, or not sub work, but in their dubbed work, that they didn't get any like big names. Like they're using a lot of people. Like you're like, oh, I've never heard of these folks before. Or if you look up the names, you'll see like they've done a lot of like other similar, lower tier anime, and it usually indicates that they just didn't have a big budget. They had big ideas, big ideals, but small budget. And typically, I don't really mind that. I think one of my I'm not going to get into it, but there's a lot of my favorite anime that sometimes they'll just use stills and then they'll pan and stuff like that. But Berserk of Gluttony episode 8 is big ideals, big ideas, small budget. Like one of the scenes where Wrath tells Fate, get on my axe, and I'm gonna fling you up in the air, and you go attack the chimera thing. I was like, oh shit, it's about to go down. And she does it, and he's just like, like barely in the air, and there's no animation. It's mostly his face with like a little red on the side, and little wind marks. And I was like, man, you had this really big artistic moment, like big sakuga. Sakuga means like put your budget into this one scene. Like big sakuga moment, and it was like a wet fart. Like what it was trying to tell us that was happening, like this huge battle, get on my axe, put you in the sky. He's supposed to be like, flailing through the air, and, big moves and stuff, and, like big, boom, and scythe, and take 20% of my stats. And the things that happen on screen or the things that we're being told versus what's being depicted on screen just didn't match up. And that tells me that like this just low budget, and typically, like I was saying, low budget doesn't necessarily mean bad quality. But this was one of the times where I really felt like the budget, like I felt the budget as a viewer, and I felt like I was being skimped of an experience. Like the story of Berserk of Gluttony and what's, you know, what it could potentially represent is bigger than the means of what the studio's able to deliver on. And I felt like we had a chimera that was done in like 3D animation. It looked horrible, looked horrendous. Fight scene, like barely any good art and action, you know, depicted there. I feel like we had Broly versus Vegeta Goku with like, you know, Krillin versus like one of the doctor's robots, you know, one of Cell's little green gremlin fight. You know what I mean? Like I felt like we were being told like this is Boo versus Goku, but we got Krillin fighting some rando fight. You know what I mean? I just like, it just didn't feel right. And I feel like as viewers, I feel like this episode we got skimped because I feel like there's like really good stuff here with Berserk of Gluttony that the studio's just not meeting, you know, what it could. And if it could meet it, I feel like we'd be blown out of the water. No, it doesn't mean I'm not enjoying the show. I just feel like I'm being under-delivered on, which is not something that I often feel like I was telling you guys. Usually, you know, the story's so good or whatever that the budget doesn't affect, or the what the studio can do on the screen doesn't affect it much. But this is one time that I really feel like they could have used an extra $100,000 or whatever the amount is. They could have used double what they got, and the product would be much better for it. But you know, I liked this episode overall, though. You know, Roxy meeting old dude, getting trained by him means she's gonna have a little bit more longevity. You know, us finding out more about Rath's past and how she was part of a science experiment and how she had to kill one of her best friends right now. We just saw the fact that we just unlocked a shield. I thought it was really cool. We learned that Fate's sword is immortal, which obviously we kind of figured that. We figured out that Wrath has been around for a while, but maybe not thousands of years, maybe just a couple 100 years kind of thing. She doesn't age very much. So just a lot of really interesting stuff happened in episode 8. But yeah, the big budget stuff really stands out to me quite a bit. But anyways, let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments below. You watched it. I'm not going to harp on every single thing that occurred this episode. I just think that it's really cool. Can't wait to see what happens next with obviously Roxy being targeted. They're all in Babylon now, so that's very interesting. So can't wait to see what happens next. We assume he's going to save her, but how he will save her is the question. And unfortunately, it seems that Wrath is gone now. So unfortunately, our brown-skinned baby girl won't be seen for a little while longer. So, all right, my friends, I'm going to see you guys next week. Peace out.